Hey, how y'all doing? Hope everybody's been enjoying your day. Honey, I had to click on real fast and do this quick um vertical live to let you guys know about what's been going on in day 2 of the Diddler Trial. Witness number 1, Cassie Ventura, took the stand today to testify. Her testimony was really emotional. And the whole thing was kind of disturbing, actually. So I want to come on real fast for a few minutes and let you guys know what's going on in case you haven't heard, right? So, oh my goodness, like I said, it was a lot of now. I don't even think that we have heard. Well, we haven't heard the last of Cassie because she's on trial, right? She's the first one. She's witness number 1, first of all. So the prosecution was questioning her today. For a lot of what the prosecution was doing, it was a bit repetitive, but they were also laying the groundwork, and a lot of things came out, though, that were really disturbing to me in particular. You know what I mean? So I wanted to come on and tell you guys about it, right? So the first thing, when she first approached the bench, they were asking her basically, about what went on in the early days of the relationship. As you guys can remember, Cassie was all of this is alleged, right? It was alleged, but it did come out in the transcripts in the trial. Just let me say it like that. But for the purposes of YouTube, I'm saying everything here is alleged, right? But you can read it in the transcripts, and everybody is talking about it because it is in the transcript. So Cassie first started talking about the early days in the relationship. She said that she loved him. Um, uh, I think that she had to come out and say certain things. Like I said, they're trying to lay the groundwork, the foundation, for for what they're prosecuting him on. In my opinion, these are my opinion. Everything's allegedly, but the reason why they kept asking her the same things over and over again is because they needed to establish, in my opinion, a timeline of events. So, yes, the relationship was toxic, but it was also, in my opinion, it was toxic, but it was also, in my opinion, allegedly, however you want to make it sound, in my opinion, it was a lot. Tracy was 19 years old, and Diddy was 17 years older than her when he first met her, when they first started this relationship. Now, right off the bat, the first thing I noticed about the age difference was the fact that when you are 19 years old and you want to be, in the music industry, the person that has your career in the palm of their hand has all the power. So since there is an imbalance of power, um, that lets me know that there was, in my opinion, there was some grooming going on because she was 19. There was love bombing going on. There was Stockholm syndrome going on. These are just my opinion, right? There's a lot of things that led up to and she also said at one point, she felt jealous because he would fool around with other women and whatnot, and it was just a lot, right? So you ask and say, well, why would she say that? Because she had to. They were asking her about how she felt at the time, especially in my opinion, in the beginning of the relationship, because he just didn't start out. It, in my opinion, he just didn't start out putting his hands on her. What we gonna keep him? Uh, okay, I don't even know what that means, but anyway. it didn't start out violent, right? It just started out with a lot of manipulation, a lot of love bombing. I'm sure, in my opinion, he told her a lot of stories about what went on in his childhood, to make him, feel, some kind of, sadness or protective nature towards him. That is why she felt like she loved him, in my opinion. In her mind, she may have, because like I said, in my opinion, once again, she was also dealing with Stockholm syndrome. And when you are a victim of DV, and allegedly she was, you are afraid as well. And she mentioned that she was afraid a lot of times during the testimony, right? So, honey, but some of the things that came out that she said went on were disturbing. Now, yesterday, we heard testimony from one of the escorts, one of the alleged escorts, that was hired to come, see them at the hotel, right? She mentioned that the escort mentioned yesterday, just to recap, that when he first started going there, he didn't really know who she was. She would answer the door. He would have her, doing all the talking and all the whatever, right? And so he would be there sitting in a ball cap all the way down over, to his eyes, and a mask over his face, because clearly, the escort was going to know who he was, right? And so the escort said he started feeling uncomfortable, because he would hear them in the other room, and the diddler would allegedly be putting his hands on her, right, in a very violent manner. And so it got to the point to where he couldn't follow through with the performance, and he would make like he did, because he got afraid for Cassie, right? And said that him and Cassie started to form some kind of bond, because he allegedly started feeling sorry for her. She's probably a really sweet girl, right? And so, anyway, that was yesterday. So, on to today. Some of the things that that Cassie was mentioning was that early when they asked her about the first FO that was done, right? She said the very first FO that they did, they were allegedly doing drugs and alcohol, and after the thing was over, hey Kareem. Oh yeah, thank you. Y'all, please guys, please tap that I twice, honey, and give me a like and share the video. Thank you, Corinne Child. I'm a bit flustered. I don't even know how to put out this stuff that I heard. Right? I'm like, oh my goodness, right? So, um, she mentioned today, she started talking about some of the things that made her feel humiliated when it came to these FOs, right? Now, we heard yesterday that one of the things that made her feel humiliated, was the fact that the diddler and the male escort would, they would, I don't know how they would relieve themselves on her. Number one, what they call it, a golden shower on her. I don't know if I can say it or not, but they did that, and that humiliated her. Now, mind you, just let me say on the side note, in cases of DV, there is absolutely, a part of DV that is meant to humiliate the person, right? And so when I heard a lot of this stuff, I absolutely agree that part of the DV was her being humiliated allegedly, right? So they said that. So today, carry on over to today, little further on in the testimony, she started mentioning the fact that baby oil and some type of lubricant, I forget the name of it, was always on hand, right? And they kept asking her, how would you get it? Sometimes that, they would have people get it for them, or they would have it, right? She mentioned one time that there was a baby oil, a bathtub full of baby oil with candles around the oil, right? And she would have to get into the bathtub filled with baby oil. Allegedly, how many bottles of baby oil does it take to fill a bathtub with baby? But anyway, I have a lot of questions, right? Uh, I'm thinking, and you got candles around the tub with the baby oil. What if one of the candles would have fell in the tub with the oil, child? I was like, oh my goodness, right? So anyway, she said that happened. She said that as time went on, they would he would employ more and more male escorts, and she would be the only female. And she felt like she was passed around like a rag doll, And she mentioned that. Now remember, everything is alleged, right? But this is what she said, right? And she said that if the male escort, um, I guess, finished too soon or before Diddy said he could finish, that he would be paid less for finishing too soon, if you guys know what I mean by that. He would be paid less for doing that. She mentioned that allegedly Diddy directed the whole thing. She said even sometimes, she said the FOs would last for days. She said one of them lasted for at least 4 days. She said she would have to um, use drugs and alcohol to numb herself, because she really didn't be wanting to. She didn't want to do all of those things, right? Hey, Miss May. Hey, Castro. How you doing? She didn't really want to be involved, in all of that stuff, but she didn't want to make him angry because clearly she's afraid of him by this time. She said that I'm saying allegedly, but she said that she didn't recognize who he was doing these FOs because in her mind his eyes would turn black, and he just wasn't the person that she knew. I was like, that's a whole demon, right? And so and then like I said, she would be pumped up allegedly, from her mouth. She would be pumped up with alcohol, and but mostly narcotics. She explained how some of the narcotics made her feel. One of the narcotics, I think she said GHP or GHB or something like that, made her nauseous. And after she would throw up off of that particular narcotic, that drug, she wouldn't want to, participate any longer. I mean, she didn't want to anyway, but she really didn't want to after she threw up because, I mean, she's feeling sick at this point, right? And so, but she still had to continue on. I mean, I'm assuming, in my opinion, she didn't want to deal with the DV that would ensue if she didn't participate, right? And so she said they lasted for days, and what they would do was, uh, I don't know if he had the IVs as well, but she would have these IVs, I guess to keep her from being dehydrated or something of that nature, so that she could continue on with the FO. She said that sometimes he wouldn't even be there, I guess at the beginning or even at all. But she would have to have him on FaceTime, and he would be directing the situation from FaceTime. So even if he wasn't there, he was still controlling her, right? And she said that even and also when he wasn't around her, he would have people watching over her. You know what I mean? And she also mentioned things about his security guards. One of his security guards he mentioned, in particular, I think his name was D Rock or something like that. So the reason why she got to mentioning the security is because now I remember J Lo saying the same thing about when the shooting that Shine went to prison for, that he took the blame for. He said that J Lo had the gun, like uh allegedly Diddy had J Lo place a gun in her purse. Well, Cassie was saying the same thing was done to her, right? And she said that she felt very afraid. She mentioned one night that security came and told him that Suge Knight was downstairs, and she said that Diddy and security, put on bulletproof vests and got the armory out, and they went looking for him, and all of this and all of that. And then she got to mentioning, and the reason, and then she was mentioning the D Rock guy, but the reason I think that a lot of people no, the D Rock guy's name is cause that was Diddy's best friend, and a lot of people were saying that if the D Rock guy hadn't gotten Biggie at the hotel the night, of his execution or whatever, he would still beat her, right? Because that was supposed to be Diddy's friend. And come to find out, the D-Rock guy even did time for Notorious B.I.G., right? So, but when he got out of jail, he became the head of Diddy Security. So that was going on, all of that's alleged. I thought it was very interesting that they mentioned that. Whether they're going to bring that up again further on down the track, I don't know. And then Cassie is heavily pregnant. Um, I think they said that her due date is like June 3rd or something, like her early June. And I'm thinking, oh my God, in my mind, what did she get so upset because did your guys see my thumbnail? They're not allowing any cameras or anything, but on the drawing, the court drawing, she's got a tissue up to her eyes, so she's clearly upset. She's crying. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I hope because of this trauma she didn't go into labor even before she's through testifying, right? Because oh my goodness, she's having to relive all this trauma, but she is so brave, and I've seen people on the internet questioning the fact that whether she was a willing participant or not. And my answer to that is no, she's not a willing participant. Y'all, please double tap the screen and give me a like. Because Diddy was the one in a position of power. When you're the one in a position of power and and this person is afraid of you, um, yeah, it's a whole DV situation. You're afraid, you're just trying to survive, right? So, but some people, in my opinion, are so dense that I don't know what it is that they don't get about that, but okay, child. Okay, everybody got a right to think what they want, right? So anyway, she mentioned that. She also mentioned, I told y'all about the tub of baby oil. One more disturbing thing that she mentioned was that she said, now let me try to work, y'all bear with me here because I don't even know how to say this. She said that, remember I told y'all, she said it would be, several escorts in there with her, male, and she would be the only female, right? And they would pass around like a rag doll. Of course, it made her feel humiliated. She didn't want to participate in any of these things to the point to where she would have to be drugged up to participate just to try to make it, right? Black Panther said, I agree. Yeah, she is brave in my opinion. Like, oh my goodness, right? And so she said, but what she said that got me, y'all, most of the day, she said that after Diddy would have these male escorts. Y'all remember Shannon Sharp and his baby gravy? The girl said she wanted the baby gravy so she can have a big black baby. So hit the one if I remember the baby gravy comment, right? After they would put their baby gravy on her body parts, she would have to go into another room with Diddy and rub their baby gravy on him, onto his body. And they asked her where, and she said, I'm going to say allegedly, but this is her testimony. She said that he would mostly like her to put their baby gravy onto his nipples. I was like, wait, what happened? After they put their baby gravy on or in her, she would have to then go into the other room and spread their baby gravy on his body and mostly his nipples. That is what she said. I'm like, oh my God. And I don't know what that was for, but that's what she said. Okay. I'm like, wait, what? Child. And we know these FOs, they started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, to where they're turned into the full blown parties, in my opinion, right? And so I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, what in the world? I don't understand it. That is a very, very demented individual. Now, now as the weeks go on, in my opinion, and I think that it was necessary for her. Like I said, I believe the prosecution is laying down their, the land, laying ground for what they're going to be building on, right? They've got they're building their foundation, right? And the reason why I felt like that was important for her to mention is simply because of the testimony that allegedly Lil Rod could be bringing forth, or all of that, right? Black Power, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Black Power. I absolutely believe that a whole energy vampire. Just we for 2 years now we've been hearing about the Diddler and all of these crazy things. I remember one story. It was one guy. He was a friend of a model or something like that, and he was invited to a FO party. And he walked in the room and he saw blood and stuff allegedly, and honey, he backed out and he left. He didn't want to have nothing to do with it. I remember one of the stories, something like it, somebody talking about that. Child, there was a lot of stuff. For animals had been mentioned, allegedly, and child, was a lot of stuff that had been mentioned. And now, I honestly was mostly shocked today by I was shocked by two things, right? I was shocked about the fact that after they finished on or in her, she would then have to go into the other room and rub it on him, especially his nipples, you know. But the thing that I was most shocked about, if I'm being honest, is the way his family was. So, that we have YouTubers in there like Tisa Tales that are actually in there. And I believe it was Tisa Tales was saying that I believe it was her, but she was saying that the family would have had to be prepped because they were, as Cassie's saying all of this stuff, they're trying to make direct eye contact with Cassie. Of course, you wouldn't want to look at them. Oh, and there's something else I got to tell y'all, right? Of course, you wouldn't want to look at them, but how they, like, as she's saying this stuff, they're sitting there like they're unfazed, right? And so they would have had to be prepped. I mean, especially those daughters, because they're not like 18 years old, right? And how you going? Why would you even want your kids to sit through something like it? That's my issue, right? So they're sitting there showing no emotion on their faces or anything, right? Cassie even brought up Kim Porter's name. Her name was brought up. I was like, oh my God. The kids not showing no emotion then either or anything like that. Um, I don't know. I just don't know why he would want his kids there, especially his girls. Like, what is the thing? Do you think that's gonna make the jury feel sorry for you? Cause it's not. Why do you have your kids there? That's the question that I was wanting to ask. And so, um, and she also, and they also were wanting to, the press was wanting, there's some video that they found either on, when they raided Diddy, right? There was a lot of computers, a lot of technology and hardware stuff that they took out of his home, right? And Cassie mentioned the fact that, I'm gonna say allegedly, but Cassie mentioned the fact that he would record these videos, and she would ask him to delete them, and she didn't know that if he would delete them all the time, but she felt like he was holding that kind of material over her is like for blackmail, right? Because and since it was, and her and victim number two believed that he had those videos, those tapes and things to use over those women's as a form of blackmail, right? So the press was wanting to see the videos, but the judge ruled that because they were to be used for like blackmail items, to blackmail the women, that the only people that were going to see those videos, I guess, is the lawyers and the jury, but the press wasn't going to be able to view those videos. Those videos have got to be so humiliating that and the guy was going, and Diddy was going to use those videos to blackmail, probably blackmail him into silence or whatever. That the only people going to be able to see him is the jury, right? And so that happened. I was like, oh my goodness, poor thing. And so, and then also, I guess the only other thing that took me aback, that even in the trial, you got Diddy in there, showing a heart sign, standing up, showing a heart sign, to his people, and his daughters are in the listening to the whole. I don't know how sick and narcissistic you have to be to want your children, especially your daughters. I have to say that once again to hear all of that stuff. Now you know them girl. Everything that's done been said about him on the internet. They done seen it, including the theories concerning him and what was done to Kim Porter. Allegedly, Albie Sure could be testifying. Allegedly, we don't know if they're sure or not. But who knows what's going to come out in these 8 weeks. They said the trial is expected to last at least 8 weeks. But Diddy is still trying to have some kind of sense of control because he had his lawyers as the judge not to allow Cassie's husband, which is her support system, to be in the trial. Diddy didn't want Alex Fine, which is Cassie's husband, in the courtroom. Now I'm thinking, why would you not want him in the court? Like, how was it bothering you that he in the courtroom? So I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking. This is just me. This is just my opinion, and I'm gonna say allegedly, but this is my opinion, right? I'm thinking in Diddy mind that he was trying to have some kind of hold over Cassie, thinking that if her husband wasn't in the courtroom, she would not feel so emboldened to talk about all the stuff, all the bad things that he did to her for whatever reason. I'm thinking that's what he's thinking because clearly this is a madman, right? And so, but the judge ruled. The reason why they didn't want him in the courtroom, the excuse was, well, we don't want him sitting in the courtroom listening to Cassie's testimony because he might be called to testify later on, right? So they're suspecting that if he's called to testify, it will be, testified to some text messages or phone calls that he sent Diddy's way, threatening him, to stay away from Cassie, right? And uh, the judge gave him a little bit what they wanted. He can be in her up to a point when it comes to her testimony, but after that, he's got to step out. I guess up until the point to where they got together. That's what I'm assuming. And then he's got to leave the courtroom because he might be called to testify. In my opinion, honey, that don't have nothing to do with nothing. That was this Diddy trying to have some kind of hold or control over their relationship, over Cassie and her husband's relationship. That's what I felt about it. But Cassie has, in my opinion, also, Cassie is strong. She is going to testify, to what he did to her no matter what, right? And so, and then, I think some people will wonder, well, how was she still willing to able to testify when they settled the case, and he settled the civil suit in 24 hours. He had to sign some kind of NDA or something, right? But those NDAs and things of that nature are not permissible in a federal court case, and from my understanding, right? So it don't matter if she signed an NDA to settle the case or not. She can still testify, which is what she's doing right now, right? And so, but I thought that was very interesting that Diddy didn't want him in there. Like I said, I don't think it had nothing to do with him, testifying later on. It was him just being real icky and weird. I don't know what Cassie is still gonna testify because she is very strong in my opinion. Whether her husband is in there or not, she's still gonna testify. And I'm sure Cassie done told her husband everything. Like they're working on the third trial. Seems like they got a real strong relationship. Her husband is always there for her. And I really bet Diddy can't stand it. And so, and I really think as far as blackmailing and stuff go, it takes me back to when he won that Lifetime Achievement Award. On that what was it, the Grammys or something like that. They gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award or something like that. And he was like, thanks to Cassie for holding me down in the dark times. I think that was a threat. I think that was, in retrospect, I feel like that was a threat. Letting her say, telling her to remember, I still got the tapes. You better not never say nothing. You know, that's the way I felt. So, yeah, the whole thing is very weird. But anyway, I just wanted to come down and give my little opinion. let you guys know. You probably heard it elsewhere, but you ain't heard it from me, and you ain't heard my commentary on it, right? So I want to come down here and share my commentary with y'all. But the whole thing is just, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. I just, and who knows what else is good. And this is just day one of Cassie's testimony from the prosecutors. How is the defense going to treat her? How are Diddy's lawyers going to treat her? Are they going to be like really, really disrespectful towards her? Will they treat her with kids' gloves? And if they treat her too harshly, the jury is going to frown upon that. I mean, she really is big and pregnant. You know what I mean? And clearly, they know for a fact that she is a victim of DV because they kept playing the hotel incident on loop. Okay, in day one yesterday, right? So they've got that incident of what happened in the hotel lobby of him dragging her back to the room, and they've got that in their mind. That's stained in the brain, but they're not charging him with DV. They're charging him on trafficking and RICO charges and things of that nature, right? So they've got to prove that, you know. Um, I think that they've got a case for it, or yes, they wouldn't have charged him with it, right? So time will tell. Um, I think that Diddy, in his own mind, he is pretty optimistic about what's going on, but I'm sure the federal prosecutors are optimistic as well. And so we're gonna have to see what's going on. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys. I just want to let you guys know what was going on in day tour. We'll give you my perspective because everybody is talking about it on social media, but only I can give my commentary the way I can give it. Okay. So anyway, I gotta go. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye. Peace.